Well, I've jumped ahead in time. It is now 1 week later, 7 days. This is the immigration office in Bukittinggi behind me. I'm very familiar with this place by now. Feels like my second home. Spent a lot of time here. But a week ago, last Monday, I dropped off finally my application for a visa extension. And because last week had a bunch of holidays in it, and then there was a weekend, I wasn't able to come back and pick it up for 7 days. And 7 days took me till today, the following Monday. So I'm going in to see whether I got my visa extension or not. I hope so. And in the meantime, I have a couple of other small adventures that cropped up, and I'll talk about those perhaps once I get my passport, Fingers crossed. I'm very nervous about going in there. I think it's very busy because it's after the holidays and it's a Monday, so a lot of people are here getting things done. So we'll see what happens. Wish me luck. Good news, I suppose. I got my passport back, and they did give me the 30-day extension, so that is all done. Very happy about that. They made me a little bit nervous, though, because when I showed up, they sort of looked at me, and it was almost like my arrival reminded them that they had to do something. And I was like, oh, yeah, that visa extension. And then they found the folder with all my documents in it and everything, but it wasn't ready yet. And then they said we had to wait until the boss arrived. The guy who had been dealing with me, he couldn't sign off on it or something. They had to wait for the boss to come back or the boss to show up for the day. And that took like 40 minutes or so. So I was waiting until someone showed up. And then, they were authorized to stamp it in the passport and give the passport back to me. So that is finally done. Happy about that. I mentioned that there were two other small adventures underway. One, of course, is the obvious one, that Ramadan has now started, and that has made life kind of interesting. I've been in Muslim countries before during Ramadan, not many times actually, so it's not anything new to me. But it's different in every country and in different regions of that country, exactly what happens. So at the very beginning, I was wondering, because the very first couple of days, everything closed. So where my hotel is located, I've been staying in a hotel in Bukittinggi because I needed that hotel's address for the immigration extension application process. And that's where my sponsor is, so I'm staying in that hotel until all this is done. And in that neighborhood, I developed all my favorite restaurants, where to go for certain meals, breakfast or lunch or dinner, things like that. And then as soon as Ramadan started, of course, everything closed. I mean, none of the restaurants were open. And I was looking at the schedule, and I was thinking that maybe the restaurants would open when the fasting period was over for the day. And I thought, okay, at sunset, these restaurants will be open. So I just wait until sunset, and then I can go have dinner along with everyone else. But nothing opened. And I checked online, and it seemed like the fasting period for the day didn't end until like 8 p.m. at night. It was like 7:50 or something like that. So I'm still not really clear on when the fasting period ends, on each day. I thought it ended at sunset, but the schedule online says more like 7:50 or 8 o'clock at night. But anyway, I waited until 8 o'clock at night, the first couple of nights, and nothing opened. So there was like no restaurants, no food anywhere. And I thought, wow, they're fairly strict here. So I bought, instant noodles and instant oatmeal. And I have a kettle of my own, so I boil water. And I've been living on instant oatmeal and instant noodles, for a little while. Because, there was no food. But then it turned out that was only for the first couple of days of Ramadan. I guess those were the big holidays, and everything was closed all day and at night. But now things have relaxed a little bit, where restaurants are open They're open during the day, like in the afternoon. Nobody's eating, of course. Everybody's fasting throughout the day. But they're still serving food, so you can go in and order food to go, and then you bring it home, and then you wait until the fasting period is over, and then you can... So I've been able to buy food, is what I'm saying. I can't go into these restaurants because they're not open, but I can get, nasi goreng or something like that in a box to go, and I bring it back to my hotel room, and then when the fasting period is over, then I can have that meal. So I'm not living on instant oatmeal anymore. So that's kind of that's nice. The other new ongoing adventure has to do with my smartphone and my SIM card, because out of nowhere my SIM card just stopped working. I couldn't get on the internet. I can't access mobile data anymore. And when I turn on my phone, I get a message at the top that says SIM number 1 disallowed. And after some investigating and after some thinking, I learned what the problem was. They have this new system in Indonesia, at least they made me do it, that when you get a SIM card, you have to register the IMEI number of your phone. And a lot of people may not be familiar with IMEI. I think it stands for something like International Mobile Electronic Identifier. It's like a serial number, but it's not a number that's, written on the phone. The IMEI number is like hardwired digitally into the phone. So your IMEI number identifies your phone. It goes everywhere that phone goes. It can be identified with this number that's digitally baked into the physical device itself. And now in Indonesia, when I got my SIM card, they got my IMEI number and they registered the IMEI with customs. And turns out it expires. So there's a 90-day limit on the IMEI registration. So I guess because I got my SIM card on my last trip to Sumatra, and then of course when I went back to Malaysia, I got a SIM card for Malaysia, and when I returned to Sumatra, I just got out my old SIM card, my old one that I got on my first trip to Sumatra, and it was still working. I still had data on it, and it was still working, and I put it back into my phone, and I'm good to go. So the SIM card is still working, but I reached the 90-day limit on the IMEI registration for the phone itself, and then it cut me off, and my SIM card was deactivated. So it's a little bit complicated. It turns out you can get a 90-day extension of your IMEI registration, but you have to go back to where you got your SIM card. So I would have to go all the way back to Dumai, where I went to Telkomsel and I got my SIM card. I have to go back to that office for them to extend my IMEI registration for another 90 days. At least that's what they say online. And of course I can't do that. And I thought, well, I'll just get a new SIM, but you can't do that either because the IMEI is part of the phone itself. And if I try to get a new SIM and put it into this phone, it will read the IMEI number and it won't work. Like no SIM card will work in this phone because the IMEI registration has expired. And my understanding is they do this because they don't want you to bring phones into the country that you bought somewhere else, and then you can sell them in Indonesia, without paying duty, without paying taxes, without any customs control. So since I bought this phone, this phone was purchased in Malaysia, and the IMEI, it knows that, and when you bring it into Indonesia, it says, well, this phone was purchased outside of Indonesia, so you can't keep it in this country. You can use it temporarily as a tourist, but eventually you have to take it out of the country. It cannot physically stay behind. So you can't sell this phone to anyone in the country. So that's what is going on there. And what I'm going to try to do now, maybe, is go back to, Telkomsel or wherever, because I have two smartphones. And my other smartphone, of course, has a totally different IMEI number. So I'm going to try and get a new SIM card and put it into my second phone and see whether I can do it that way. So yeah, I'm not really looking forward to that. I find I tend to have enough energy for one bureaucratic task at a time. And my task for the day was coming here to immigration. Now I'm done for the day. In terms of bureaucracy, I'm exhausted. My voice, you can actually hear my voice is kind of, and now I don't really want to go into Bukitingi, go to Telkomsel and try to deal with this email number, try to get an extension, and if I can't, get a new SIM card. I really don't want to do that today, but since I'm out here, I guess that's what I'm going to do. So that's my next small adventure for today. Yeah, being overseas seems to be getting more and more complicated these days, just because, you know, technology. Everything is a little bit more complicated. And the other thing is, I don't know, with my passport, they gave me my extension stamp, but they turned to a brand new page and they put the stamp right in the middle of the page again. So it essentially uses up the entire page, like one page of your passport per stamp. That's how they do it these days. And I keep wanting to stop them before they put the stamp in. So like, can you just put it in the corner? And then I can get 4 stamps on each page. But of course, I have no control over when they stamp it. It happens in a back room somewhere. And they just put the stamp like dead center on every page. And then the next time you get a stamp, they just turn to a fresh page and put it right in the middle again. So it uses up your passport in record time these days. And then you have to get a new passport, you know, long before it expires, you know. Anyway, the life overseas, you know, gets more complicated all the time. But anyway, let's go see if I can figure out this email number business. Well, I'm still here at immigration. I just changed into my t-shirt and cycling shorts because I have to ride into Bukitingi now to deal with this email SIM card situation. I just wanted to add a little note here because 3 other foreigners just showed up from France and from Belgium. And, you know, I'm curious how things go for other people. So I asked them, you know, are you coming here to extend a visa on arrival, like a tourist visa on arrival? And 2 of them weren't, but the woman from Belgium, that's what she was here to do. So she went into the office and then came out again, and it was clear that something had gone wrong. She was on her phone, she was doing a bunch of things, walking around, and didn't look very happy. So I spoke to them, and it turns out that she wasn't aware that you need a receipt from your hotel where you're staying. She didn't know that, so she didn't have that prepared. And she was on her phone, and she couldn't print one out because she hadn't booked it online. She had just, you know, booked the room through WhatsApp, you know, told them, you know, I'd like to stay at your hotel. And they reserved a room for her, and then she paid in cash when she got to the hotel. So she didn't have like a go-to booking that she could print out or anything like that. So she had to contact her hotel where she spent the night in Bukitingi, and they were kind enough to take a picture of a hotel receipt for her and send it to her. And then she is able to print it out here from their computer, which is all great, but immigration wouldn't accept it because it was only a 1-night reservation for last night. You know, she stayed in the hotel in Bukitingi last night, and then she checked out of that hotel this morning and then came here to start the visa, you know, extension process, and then they're going to go somewhere else. But because the date does not cover the time of the visa application, she's already checked out of that hotel. The immigration won't accept that as a valid place of residence. You actually have to be in that residence at that address during the application process. So it's going to take 2 or 3 days for them to process the application, and she has to be staying at that hotel for those 3 days. So basically, they're gone now. Luckily, they had a car. I don't know who they were exactly, but they had a car and maybe a driver, I think. So maybe they have a tour guide. Anyway, so now they're driving back into Bukitingi, and this poor woman has to check back into the same hotel, I guess. They're going to go back to the same place, maybe, and then book 2 or 3 nights, get them to print out a receipt, and then she's going to have to come back here. But she didn't get far enough into the process for them to ask her to get a sponsor yet. So far, they did not say anything to her about a sponsor. So fingers crossed for her that getting the hotel receipt will be enough, and then she'll be able to start the process today. I hope they don't ask her to get a sponsor. But yeah, well, unfortunately, I will never see them again, so I'll never hear the end of their story. But yeah, wish them luck. On to SIM card and email adventures. Well, this seems as good a place as any to end this video. That's the famous clock tower here at Bukittinggi. I haven't gone to take a close look at it. I just happened to be riding past it. I just went to the Telkomsel Grabari office, and it looks like I can do something there. I can either extend my email, or I can get a new SIM card for my second phone. I can do something, but I can't do it today. So they're just jammed. They have so many people there. They have no openings for the entire day, basically. So they said, yeah, we can't do anything for you today, but if I come back tomorrow, then I can do it. So that whole adventure is going to take another day, but I'm going to set that aside for now. And yeah, that's it for the visa extension. I do have it, finally, at long last. There you go, happy endings. So I'm just going to do a bit of shopping here in Bukittinggi, head back to the hotel where I'm staying, and tomorrow I'm going to come back into Bukittinggi and deal with my new SIM card email issue. They were really nice at Telkomsel. The people there, really friendly, spoke great English, so I'm sure I can get something done eventually, just not today. So that's it. I'll see you in the next video.